What's up, guys? John Collins with Wiz & Holster Co. LLC. Happy to be finally standing in our video recording room. This is something that we've been working on for a long time, something we've really been excited to unveil to you guys, and with it the opportunities to start pushing out videos to you guys about a lot of the stuff that you routinely ask us, or things that we would like for you to know. Things about our holsters, things about different concealed carry setups, or just about concealed carry in general. So forgive the crude setup. I have no idea what I'm doing here about lighting or the backdrops or anything like that. And of course, probably going to be pretty bad at doing this recording in general. So you'll see a lot of cuts, but bear with me. And hopefully as more and more of these videos come out, you'll see some growth here. But I figured I'd start us off with probably what is the hottest topic, or at least the topic that we get asked about the most, and that is concealed carrying with a weapon-mounted light. I'm sure you guys have seen this is something that has grown in popularity through the years more and more, and for good reason. Weapon-mounted lights allow for target identification, which is extremely crucial. You're pointing your gun at something, you want to know what it is that you're pointing it at, especially for those that are carrying at home. If you have your bedside gun, you get up for that bump in the night and you're walking down that dark hallway, you want to be able to identify what's on the other end of your firearm. So I think it ultimately is the right choice to put a weapon-mounted light on your gun, but with that are some things that we want to keep in mind. The biggest one is the trigger guard gap. This is the question that we get asked mostly about in holster world, is how do we deal with that gap that's around the trigger guard because we have a light on our gun now. And so one of the biggest concealed carry setups we make, one of the most popular ones, is the SIG X Macro and the Streamlight TLR7 sub. That is probably what we make most for our holsters. You may have even seen the Reddit post online talking about our holsters in regards to that exact subject. So I thought it would be a great idea to be able to make a video for you guys to kind of show exactly what that looks like, and then compare it to some other setups that are very, very popular to kind of see where it stands with that. And then just in general talk on the subject of carrying with a weapon-mounted light, and just what it is that's important to keep in mind. So to start off, the very popular X Macro TLR7 sub. We are using blue guns today just to keep YouTube happy, but same exact dimensions more or less, so you'll be able to get the idea. So obviously in holster world, when we want to make a holster for you guys and there's a light on your gun, we have to make the mouth of the holster here the width of the base of the light. That way there is room for that light to be able to pass through the holster and seat fully. Because of that, and because of the ever-growing popularity of firearms to be made smaller, and lights really haven't, I guess, caught up in that regard as far as lumens go, to have a skinny light that still puts out, at minimum 500 lumens, this trigger guard gap has become more and more of an issue over the years. It's really not, in a way, an issue, but it is still something to think about if you're going to conceal carry. The big fear people have with doing this is that you now have a gap that things can get into, whether that be a garment, whether that just be debris in general, or in some cases your finger. Well, if you can get my finger in there and I can pull that trigger. This really goes back to ultimately what is, I would say, just a level of comfort that you have when you're concealed carrying. There are those who don't like to appendix carry because of a level of comfort of having the gun where it sits. And so they opt to carry on their hip, they opt to carry in a bag, all of which are absolutely great. I think it is far better to carry a gun however you can carry a gun than to not carry one at all. But for those who are carrying with the weapon-mounted light and are worried about this trigger guard gap, let's get into it. So, and you can see here, that's the X Macro TLR7 sub in our Agent standard inside of the waistband holster. So you can see the trigger guard gap that's there. Now, I have fairly big fingers. I can barely even get a fingernail up underneath of this gap. But there are those out there that, of course, have smaller hands, and maybe they can. Or it's just the fear in general of having that gap. So one thing I wanted to show is how that would stack up to another extremely popular carry setup, which is the Glock 19 and the standard TLR7. One thing to bring to light too, that I don't know if everybody really understands or knows, is that Streamlight uses the exact same tail switches on both of these lights, and the body of itself is really where you're only going to see that difference. So a lot of people go the route of the TLR7 sub thinking, oh, it's a sub, it's a smaller light, it's made for smaller guns. When all actuality, it is actually the same. So I'll hold them up side by side here so that you can see. TLR7, TLR7 sub, and the tail switches in the back are the exact same size. So really what it comes down to is the width of the trigger guard. I'll hold this up again. You can see how the Glock 19 does have a thicker trigger guard than the X Macro. Therefore, when holstered, you're going to see less of a gap present in comparison to these two holsters. There's the example. Another very, very popular setup is the P365 XL, also with the TLR7 sub. And this one I think is even more exaggerated, although I don't hear about it nearly as much. But you'll notice the difference, again, the same width of light, but the far skinnier trigger guard yet that's on the 365 versus the X Macro. So, again, challenges that comes with this is really just train with it. If it's something that you want to do and realize that that gap is there, things technically can get in. But that to me is just a level of awareness that we need to have as responsible concealed carriers to make sure that we are doing the right things to prevent any kind of an issue that could happen. You are carrying a loaded firearm on your person, and with that comes risks. No matter how you carry, no matter if you carry without a light, with a light, whatever, you're carrying a loaded firearm. That is a big responsibility to have. And so with that responsibility, carrying a weapon-mounted light, you're just increasing that level of responsibility to be aware of what you're doing when you're manipulating that firearm, or what clothes you're wearing to cover that firearm. So this, I think really that was what this all comes down to. I personally carry with a light on pretty much all of my setups. And I think that is, the way that we probably should be moving towards. But with that, you're going to find that, just be careful, be responsible, and practice. Really, a lot of this stuff can be hammered out in dry fire at home. Getting used to manipulating that shirt, getting used to grabbing and getting a good purchase on that grip, and making sure you're defeating that holster, and that you're taking the right necessary steps to prevent any kind of safety concerns that could happen, so that heaven forbid you were out somewhere that became something you finally had to do, that you, and under all that stress and adrenaline, are going to do that thing correctly and prevent any kind of more of a situation from happening than what should be. So anyway, I hope giving some of this stuff some visuals would kind of help. Actually, it's one thing I do want to mention too. Again, along the lines of these holsters being the same size, dependent on the TLR7 sub versus TLR7. Another very popular setup that we do is the X Macro with the standard TLR7, TLR7A, TLR7X. They're all the same as far as the light body goes, so as far as holsters, they're all the same. But again, because this light base is the same between both of these lights, you'll notice that even with this and its appropriate holster, you're going to have the same trigger guard gap present in the standard TLR7 sub as well. One way that you can get an advantage, at least with our holsters, is if you do carry appendix, you'll notice that, not necessarily on this one, this is our quick ship model, so we have a mod wing on here, but you'll see on our custom side we use the Kydex wings, and in order to do that we leave a little bit of extra Kydex up near this trigger guard area, which can act as a deterrent, a little bit of extra surface area to prevent things from getting in there. But again, still in my mind pretty tight. I don't think really anything is going in there, at least unintentionally. So anyway guys, I hope that this brings some light to this discussion. I hope that it can maybe answer a few questions. Of course, if you guys do have any more questions in relation to any of this, or really anything in general as far as holsters and concealed carry go, always feel free to reach out to us. You can hit us up here under this YouTube video. You can check us out on Instagram at Risen Holster Co. and DM us on there. You can also reach out through our website at info@risenholsterco.com. We have a contact page there, or you can just email that email directly. And also, feel free, please check out our holsters at risenholsterco.com. Ask questions about those. Please put an order in. And again, really excited to be able to finally make these videos for you guys. Hopefully you'll be seeing a bunch of them coming out here in the future. Stay safe and God bless.